Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's dive on in. So I seen this post by Chad Steingraber over on X, and it was definitely interesting. So this was from Forbes earlier yesterday, and when you see US dollar collapse acceleration, $33.7 trillion shock Fed inflation, warning makes the bullish case for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and crypto price surge. Now, this is definitely interesting. Listen, at a time where we're starting to see the entire picture being painted for the entire crypto space, I want to note something. Right? So I remember the whole idea of everyone saying inflation was bad for crypto. When I look at inflation, I look at it being very bullish for crypto. Why? Because we're talking about deflationary assets. I don't see the idea of inflation being bad for crypto ever. I actually think that there's some great opportunities in this space to hedge ourselves against inflation. And XRP is one of the, in my opinion, most incredible players in the space. But beyond that, we know that the banking sector is still extremely under pressure. Why? Because of liquidity. There has been a liquidity crunch this entire year. We know this. Now, yes, liquidity has improved slightly, but banks are still under an immense amount of pressure. Over here, we do see Bitcoin and crypto prices, including major coins Ethereum and XRP, have surged this year as the US grapples with the threat of global wartime inflation. The Bitcoin price has rocketed to $36,000 per Bitcoin this year, doubling over the last 12 months and helping Ethereum, XRP, and the wider market to soar after the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, unleashed nuclear winter. Now, as fears spread, the US could be about to kill Bitcoin. Legendary billionaire investor Ray Dalio has warned the swelling US debt pile of $33.7 trillion is about to reach an inflection point. Something that one researcher has called the bullish case for Bitcoin. Now, mind you, we know that Janet Yellen has said that she wants, in the next roughly 6 years, to print an additional near $17 trillion. Their goal is $50 trillion worth of debt by 2030. Now, let me ask you this. Does that sound sustainable at all? Now, if you answered yes to that question, I really want to know your thoughts down in the comments below to really kind of see where you are at with that. But in my opinion, it doesn't sound sustainable at all. And we've already started to see banks this year go belly up. And it's just the beginning, in my opinion. Listen, the entire banking sector is at a crucial point in time where they need to look into innovative technologies. I've been talking about this for a little bit of time now. Over here, we actually have from Chad yet again. He's quoting Jack Straw. ISO 20022 Death Watch. European Central Bank still down. And yeah, this bank has been down for a while, T2. It's closed due to ongoing deployment activities relating to the release November 2024 and will reopen in accordance to its schedule. Down here, we have from Jack Straw. Failure to achieve ISO 20022 compliance by Sunday, November 19th, would lead to the closure of banks, potentially triggering bank runs. This is definitely interesting. Listen, we might not see significant closures of banks and bank runs and things like that, but we could start to see self-sabotage. What I have been talking about this year is the idea of this all being by plan. self-sabotaging the financial system in order to usher in the agenda, usher in the overall solution. They have to create the problem, they want to get the reaction, and of course they have the solution. Now, we've talked a little bit about this, CBDCs, things like that. In my opinion, it's all happening. The game has already started. We're still kind of watching it in live. We're just waiting for the end game. We see over here from Ingrid, ISO 20022 migration in Europe postponed until March 17th of this year. The EPC's PSMB considered that an unsuccessful ISO version migration on November 19th would not only have impacted the national SEPA transactions, but also significant volumes of cross-border SEPA transactions with potential knock-on effects across the whole SEPA region. So yeah, this has been something that we've been looking into. But down here, this is one thing that I've been looking into. This is from Cryptosis. We do see, wait till the crisis hits. Everyone will switch instantly. These dates are being put out there to make you feel like you have time. And at first I thought, that's just a wild statement. But then I thought about it. And think about how much weight is behind these dates. So many people play into these dates in illogical ways. What I have been saying for the last roughly 48 hours, 72 hours, is that this ISO 2022 move on November 19th, which has passed, is not significant to price action. But I can almost guarantee you that someone out there was probably, going around saying, XRP is about to pump on November 19th because of ISO 2022. People who followed that probably sold their XRP. Or better yet, they're frustrated. They're on edge. When we look at what's going on, we are seeing too much weight being put on these dates. Screw all the dates, right? We know the deadline, 2025, which means we have little over a year before things really start to accelerate. And at that, it's 2 years away, the full implementation of ISO 2022. So think about that. All of 2024, there hasn't been significant updates regarding, major moves, except for this one. But again, this is a date that we shouldn't be looking into and saying, hey, March 17th is going to be huge. No. What's going to be big is once we have this standardization fully in place, so the end of 2025, like I said, almost well over a year now. Once we have ISO 2022 in place, once we start to have regulations in place, then we start to see things change drastically. That's when the entire landscape of the financial sector changes. But beyond that, here's a little bit more of an in-depth view on how things will look once migrated. Shout out to XRP Drops for this. We do see ISO 2022. What's next once migrated? What are the use cases? This is Nilesh Dusain, I hope that I'm saying that name correctly, Global Head of Institutional Payments at Amazon Web Services. Any bank and any institution who wants to use SWIFT for wires have to upgrade till the end of 2025. High value payments, pure domestic wires for banks, market infrastructures connecting to each other, Singapore and India, cross-border payments. Check this out.
What can financial institutions do with the data once they complete the migration and the additional data start flowing through their payment systems? And that's where we see customers now starting to come to AWS and say, hey, what can we do with this additional information? How can we offer better payment experience for our customers, whether they are on the retail consumer side or on the corporate cash management side?
Some of the data use cases that you think are short-term possible, given the migration to the standard. So how are you advising FIs to prepare to use that data in different ways today?
Sure. So let's take Swift as an example. They've published a timeline for ISO migration for Swift. So any bank, any financial institution who wants to use Swift for wires have to, upgrade to their messaging standards, to ISO standards by a certain timeline. There is going to be a coexistence period, but at the end of, I think, 2025, it'll stop. The coexistence will stop.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in addition to that, CBPR Plus, which is another thing that is happening along the same timeline, can help from a cross-border payment standpoint as well. So that's one set of use cases, mostly for corporate payments that we are seeing. For retail remittance, it's not as urgent from a timing standpoint, but for corporate payments, high value payments, I think that could be a very interesting use case. So that's number one. The other use cases from an ISO standpoint are pure domestic wires. So Fedwire in the US and other market infrastructures in different parts of the world are also going to ISO 20022 standards. So banks who want to do domestic wires also have to go through that upgrade process again to process domestic wires as a starting point. Market infrastructures connecting to each other. So Singapore and India have announced such a relationship where it's for retail remittance, but it still proves the point, right? Which is two market infrastructures talking to each other, facilitating real-time cross-border payments. From an AWS perspective, we tend to enable these networks. These are different networks, as you can imagine, right? So the Settle network, even though it's from a participation standpoint, those are mostly banks in the US, in Europe. The work that Mass and Nets and others are doing in Asia Pacific, that's a different geography. So depending on the participants, the networks are going to be disparate. But at the same time, we try to enable the ecosystem to connect to these networks so that they can facilitate cross-border payments.
So there you guys have it. And again, like, there is significant things happening here. Once we start to see the full implementation of ISO 20022, we're going to start to see things accelerated in full time. And this is one thing that I say, don't get caught up in the short term around ISO 20022. Like, even if we did see a price surge on XRP, it would have immediately been sold off by whales. Why? Because they know that now is not the time. When we look at what's going on here, everything is falling into place perfectly. And outside of ISO 20022, it's also the gateway to tokenization services. We are on the cusp of a massive change in the global system. We're starting to see things begin to break, and this is all by plan. If you're not prepared for this, the average individual is going to get wiped out, but we are seeing things changing fast. So with that in mind, if you guys do want to go get your very own official crypto merch, you guys are more than welcome to over on tokenizedthreads.com. This is my apparel brand. Again, we just dropped the winner in the fall drop this year. If you guys are interested in this, you guys are more than welcome to go check it out. Links are down in the description below, as well as in the comments below, or you can just go to tokenizedthreads.com. With that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.